Budget Bids back for second episode of Crawlspace Week. I'm gonna walk you through what's going on in this Crawlspace because it's a whole different animal. I was on vacation with my family. We went to San Antonio, and they had a water leak in their house, and this was right at the beginning of winter, and so they had a crawl space contractor come out, and crawl space was flooded. Yeah, it had been raining all week, like monsoon towards the beginning of the winter season, and it was just flooded. And it was cold because the temperatures were changing, and the water leak was on the hot water side. So they have a tankless water heater, and basically it had sprung a leak. They could hear a hiss, a slight hiss, but they didn't know where it was coming from or what it was. It wasn't until they called somebody, and they were able to shut off the water and go into the crawl space. And then the crawl space guy's like, "I'm not going in there. It's flooded. It's cold. It's wet. You have this is a mess, and it's gonna cost you $40,000 to fix." That's what he bid on the job site, $40,000. Mind you, he didn't go in, right? So what do? They give Ralphie a ring a ding, and then I pick up the phone. I'm in San Antonio, and I'm asking questions, and I'm asking the guy, "Hey man, do you feel any moisture? Do you see any moisture in the house? What does the baseboard look like? Is it all soggy? Is it wet? Is it chowdery? Is it soft? Can you feel anything?" He's like, he's not answering my question. He can't answer my questions. He's talking about other stuff, and I'm like, "Look, man, you're not giving me any answers." And so I'm like, "Can you put my client back on the phone?" And I tell them right away, I'm like, "Look, don't sign anything. Wait till I get back. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Okay. In that time, I will coordinate a water mitigation effort." And it was by that evening they had their plumbing fixed, and they had by the following morning they already had dehumidifiers set up. They already had being pumped out the crawl space. It was already fans were moving air, and so it was because while all of that equipment was running, I was really able to give the missus a fun time, and my kiddos with all of the stuff in Las Vegas and Arizona, and we were able to actually have a good family experience. Meanwhile, in the back of my mind, I know I got work to do when I get home. So I go there, and mind you, the place has been drying out for 2 weeks. And so I'm looking through everything, going through, doing my assessment, and I'm noticing small little puddles, nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. It's something that you'd see as things are drying out. There was air movers in the crawl space. We had taken the venting out. Usually they're people while they're getting everything winterized, like putting in the spigot covers. They put chunks of styrofoam to block the venting for the crawl space, but those are taken out, you can see. And as I'm moving things around, I get to the bathtub, and I see the discoloration in the I-beams. Now, my main concern was that, these I-beams are structurally sound. Usually, these guys are supposed to be, these LVL beams, they're supposed to be able to, be stronger than actual plywood, but let's face it, they're made of organic strand board, and when they're wet, they're trash. So I'm going through and I'm looking to see what's dry, what's not, what has mold on it, what doesn't. And I'm just looking, and I'm seeing, hey, I got a big old mildewy, moldy spot right here. And I'm against an exterior wall. And I'm looking in this next bay. That's all dry. And then this side of the eye joist is all moldy and disgusting, but it's all dry in the next bay, except for the exterior wall that also has mold. So that tells me that there's either a downspout there, a gutter coming back into that exterior wall. Come to find out that there's actually a spigot on that wall. And so that was leaking, and that didn't have anything to do with this incident. That's a whole separate incident. So checking through, making sure everything is dry. I'm moving from the source of the leak out to see what got damaged. So when the contractor guy that they called, he's like, man, it's raining in there. It's flooded everywhere. It's everything's ruined. You're gonna have to tear up everything. $40,000. That's the number he just ballparks and throws out. So this is that corner right by the entryway. Get that guy out of there. It's very irresponsible to go throwing numbers out like that when you haven't even been able to give it a proper assessment. What the raining that they're all talking about is not from the leak. It's from sweating. It's the fact that you have hot water meeting a cold temperature, and it's the dew point, and it's all, everything is sweating. All the insulation has humidity on it, and it's all dew on it, and it's all moisture, and it has everything to do with the temperature in that crawl space. It has nothing to do with the fact that the leak, it is so massive that it's flooding the entire house, and yeah, it's, come on, man. I get you into contracts when you're at your lowest, but you know, my clients knew better, and they gave me a call right away. And I've been in the middle of a jungle before, believe it or not. I've been in the middle of a jungle on vacation, and I've troubleshooted somebody through their dishwasher repair, believe it or not. True story. So when you call me, I will answer. So, and I will get you, and I'll get you taken care of. That's just who I am. Let's keep going with this. Now, I've already done my dry out. This is my final inspection prior to putting everything back. Everything's dry, and I come in and I see these two big puddles. Now, we had 48 hours of constant rainfall, right? And I'm like, what's going on here? I was just in here. You guys just saw my assessment of everything after 2 weeks. 48 hours after that, you know, I'm wrapping up things upstairs. Come to find out that this crawl space is flooded. I'm like, oh, basically, it's all groundwater. It's all coming from the ground. This house sits on a high water table, and when this kind of stuff happens, I work through my process of elimination, and there's certain things that you kind of have to go through in order to figure out, hey, is it a bad perimeter drain? Is it a broken in-ground pipe? Is it a broken storm drain pipe? Is there a gutter that's backed up and flowing into the crawl space? Are there weep holes or something that can't shed water? Is there a sump pump that's not working? Is there a catch basin that's overflowing and backing up into the yard, that's backing up into the crawl space? So there's proper way to do this is to go through everything and inspect it all. And then that's how you know for sure. And so that's what we're doing here. We're jetting the storm drain. We're testing the sump pump. And then once everything is done, once we've assessed everything, then we start excavating. And here you can see, it's all coming from the ground. The house is on a high water table. And so they need a tile drainage system, man. They need a system to get all that water moving to the sump pump. And so we bury pipe, or first we excavate and we bring in drainage stone, and then we basically put perforated pipe in the ground to help us at a grade. We need slope. And so basically all that water can shoot right to the sump pump and discharge out by the street gutter so we can get it away from the house, because all that water staying in there, it's stagnant, and you can smell mold. And believe it or not, the biggest puddle, those puddles right there, the master bedroom is right over those puddles, and it reeks. Now, you don't see that on an inspection report when you buy your house in the spring or summer. Everything's dried up. I mean, by summertime, yeah, unless you see calcium deposits or hard mineral deposits on the foundation walls, you're not going to notice. You're not going to know that there's anything wrong. Companies to come out here and mitigate this, and nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody knew what was causing it. I mean, that crawl space entry was tinier than the first crawl space video, and so I mean, you have these big plumbers out here with broad shoulders. They don't want to push through that. And so every time they're coming out, they're just saying no. They had an insulation company give them an estimate. They wanted to come in and have the insulation repaired, and do the Viz Queen. That's why in the video, I'm not doing the Viz Queen or the insulation repair. I did all my inspections. I set up the water system, got everything cleaned up, and now the insulation company can come in and do their job. Most of the time, service guys, like your HVAC guys, your plumbers, your basically anything having to do with like air conditioning, if anything is in the crawl space and there's standing water, nobody wants to go in there. They can refuse service. Most of the time during the wintertime, they do. Okay, so you're gonna have a hard time finding a contractor that'll go in there to make the necessary repairs because there's standing water issues in there. End of the week, you're gonna see what happens when you don't fix these problems. When you put these problems on the back burner, and how big of a price tag comes with rectifying these issues. The hassle, the engineering, the licensing, the permitting, it's just a whole lot of problems that you do not want. Okay.